Hello, this is Patrick Larkin Hill. It is October 31st, 2022, and this is my ancestry. My mother was Maxine S Stephens Hill, and she was born in 1931, and she died earlier this year. She was 90 and a half years old. This profile has been added to findagrave.com. findagrave.com, and findagrave.com normally lists siblings that have passed away. They're not listed until they pass away, and then it typically lists parents and children. And Mom had 6 kids. I am the 5th child, and none of us have passed away yet. But I wanted to make this ancestry in my voice while I am still alive, in case something should change in respect to that. So my mother, Maxine Hill, she married Roger Hill, and as it says right here, and they had 6 kids. And her parents were Henry Stephens and Aline Purvis Stephens. And I know that if I want to go the furthest back in my ancestry, I'm going to choose my grandma. So Aline Purvis was born in 1904, and she died in 1993. I well remember her and going to her house in Wilmington. And she had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There were 7 ladies, and 6 ladies and 1 man, Herman. And we used to go to the family reunion at Herman's house. Mom had was one of 5. Henry Shephard, we called him HS. Roger Kenneth was Kenny, his mom. And then Marjorie Stephens Hayes, we called her Margie, and then Julian. So this is the picture of Grandma. She was surrounded by a lot of people. And let's look at her parents. Shephard Larkin Purvis and Mary Ella Hayes. So we choose Shephard Larkin, 1877 to 1946. He died at age 68. And he was a preacher. And at one point he preached at Porter Swamp Baptist Church in Cerro Gordo. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's the one with his wife had all those kids. But he also came from a big family. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10. That's a big family. So let's take a look at his parents. Silas Henry Purvis, Harriet Newell. Let's choose Harriet. Harriet Newell Hedgepeth was born in 1839, died in 1911. And let's take a look at her parents. Her parents was Arthur Hedgepeth and Elizabeth Lewis. Elizabeth Lewis is where we are grafted into the ancestry that goes back to Europe. So we click on Elizabeth Lewis. Elizabeth Lewis had parents Edith Walters and James Lewis. James Lewis was the son of a John Lewis. And John Lewis was an interesting man. We can read about John Lewis on this particular page, where it lists that he is a Revolutionary War veteran and was married 3 times, but I found his listing over at Wikitree. Wikitree, where genealogists collaborate. So we find John Lewis listing here. He was born in 1750 in New Hanover County, North Carolina. So his people had already come from Europe. He was the son of William Lewis III and Elizabeth Phillips. And let's read about John Lewis. John was born in 1750. He's the son of William Lewis and Elizabeth Phillips. He was a Revolutionary War veteran, born in 1750 in New Hanover County. Soon after his first marriage in 1772, when he was 22 years old, John moved to Marion County, South Carolina, and lived there until his wife's death, and that's Delilah Powell, in 1778. They had 2 sons and several daughters, of which nothing is known about the daughters. John apparently left his children with kinfolk, probably his brother, Benjamin. He returned to New Hanover County and married Nancy Orr in 1780, and they had 1 son. John enlisted in the militia in the Revolutionary War and served in the Wilmington District until 1783. And then Nancy died in 1800. John moved to Robeson County soon thereafter. In 1820, John married a 3rd time, this time to Zilpha Powell. That's the sister of his first wife, Delilah, who had passed away. And Zilpha Powell and John had 6 kids, and they remained in Robeson County, North Carolina until their deaths. John accumulated a large estate and was a wealthy man when he died in 1842. So on this particular page of Wickettree, his children of the first wife, second wife, and then the 6 kids of the 3rd wife is there. There is actually a John Lewis Jr. there. So, and John was the son of William Lewis III. William Lewis III was born in Ireland about 1730, and he married Elizabeth Phillips, which was John Lewis's mother. So he was born in 1730 in Ireland, the son of Elizabeth Borden and William. He married, we already said that, and they had 6 kids. He was a farmer. He produced turpentine and tar. He was a surveyor with his brother, and they laid out a road in New Hanover County to the northwest Cape Fear River. He lived all his life in northern New Hanover County, now Duplin County, and died there in 1800. And he was the son of William Lewis Jr. William Lewis Jr. He was born in 1690, and he died in 1755. He's the one that brought the family from Northern Ireland to America. I guess that's why they have the little ship sign here. But he was the son of William Lewis Sr. And William Lewis Sr. was interesting. He was born in 1660 in Noviant-au-Prez, the Duchy of Lorraine, France. His father was John. The Lewis ancestral family were Huguenots, originally from France, where they had lived for several generations. So this gets us back into the 1500s, possibly the 1400s. They're of France, originally coming from Wales. In about 1687, after France revoked the Edict of Nantes and thereby prohibited Protestantism, his father, Jean Lewis, fled to Wales with his mother and the 3 sons, where he bought a tract of land and settled. So William moved to Wales in 1687 with his father after the revocation of that edict. He married Mary McClellan, and they settled in the county of Donegal in Ireland on one of the plantations in Northern Ireland around 1689. Let's see what else it says. So his father was, as I said, a John Lewis, originally spelled Louis, but they Anglicized, English, turned it into English, and so it's now Lewis, Lewis. So he was born in around 1635 in France before he changed his name. He was a Protestant family of Castres in the former French province of Languedoc in the predominantly rural Midi-Pyrenees region. His ancestors had lived for several generations in France. And he was of Welsh descent. So, getting back into the 1400s, they go back to Wales. He and his 3 sons were lawyers. And after the religious persecution, they had to leave because King Louis IX rejected an edict, and he didn't want any Protestants. Apparently they wanted Catholics or something, I'm not sure. He went to Radnorshire, Wales, the alleged homeland of his ancestors, with his wife and 3 children, where he bought some property and stayed for the rest of his life. There is substantial evidence that John Lewis was directly related to the Lewises of Harpden Court in Radnorshire County, Wales. So let's see if we can go back further. That's about as far back as we can go, the early 1600s, but it is said that their ancestors had stayed in France for several generations, and before that, Wales. So it's safe to assume that in the 1400s or so, they would come from Wales. So Wales, then France, and then Wales or Ireland, and then America is the way that it goes. And that's very interesting. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.